Hello, hello, my creative friend. Welcome to the Artist Path to Success. Over the next few minutes, we're going to talk about what it means to be a creative entrepreneur and how you can grow your business from wherever you are to really wherever you want to go. There is no limit, and I hope that we get to reframe and reshape a lot of those things in our conversation today. A few things to do before we begin. Number one, go ahead and grab a notebook and your favorite writing utensil. You're going to take a lot of notes. Number two, clear some mental space. Clear some quiet in your life. I know that we are busy. I know that there's a lot going on. Trust me, I understand completely. But I also know that your creative work will only progress if you give it space. And this is the perfect time to make that happen in your life. This workshop will be incredibly practical. It will also reframe a lot of mindsets that you may not even know that you're holding. And you'll walk away knowing how to grow your business. So it's worth spending some dedicated time with me. It is worth it. Let's dive in. The next thing I want you to do is download the Artist Path to Success book. This book is beautiful. It's thoughtful, and it will outline everything we talk about here today clearly and succinctly, and you can work through it in your own time. It is a treasure for the creative community, if I do say so myself. All right, you ready to dive into the Artist Path to Success? Let's begin this journey together. We're here, you and I are both here because we love creating beautiful work. You create things that come from your soul, they come from your heart, they mean something to you and to your audience and to your customers. And yet, running a creative business can be very confusing, and there's not really a lot of clear information out there. Am I right? We fill our studios with stacks of work, our hearts with big, beautiful dreams, and yet, when we turn those dreams into a career, there's often a lot of gray matter. There's a lot of things that we're just like, wait, but how? How does this actually happen? Not to mention, we are bombarded with things like artists are starving. Oh, no, don't major in art. That's not a very good major. What are you going to do to make money? So you're an artist, cool. What's your real job? I don't want you to suffer. This is going to be a hard life. I just want what's best for you. The pitying look in someone's eye when you say, yes, I am an artist. And they look at you and go, oh, that's so sweet. I know I'm not alone, but I have heard this theme my entire life. Still to this day, I still hear this theme. It's fine. We can move past it. But so many people stop at this phase. So many people keep their work hidden inside of their hearts and souls because moving past this phase where you're told no consistently by people close to you, by society at large, by people that you don't even know, it can be debilitating, and it often keeps our work tucked into a little box and tucked deep inside of our hearts instead of out in the world where they need to be. But is it true? Is there really no money in the arts? Is there really no money for artists to make? I mean, really? Let's look at the market and get some actual data to see if this is actually true. All right, we're going to do some math. You have your pen and paper ready. Here we go. Let's just say that there are 100 million people who would like to have beautiful, self-expressive homes. If you create things that are worn, then apply that to people's bodies or to their, wherever your work applies in the world. There are so many people that want beautiful, self-expressive things. To be clear, there are actually way more than 100 million. They're probably closer to 1 billion, but I cannot wrap my head around that number, so we're going to stay in the realm of possibility, which still feels crazy. 100 million people. Okay, now let's say that each of those homes has 2 walls that are bare and not very beautiful. Okay, 2 walls. I know that in my home, there are probably 30 walls that are bare and needing some love. Maybe not 30, but still quite a few. Let's just say for easy math that there are 2 walls in somebody's house that could and should have your work on them. Okay, so we got this. 100 million times 2 is 200 million pieces of artwork are needed in this world. And again, it's closer to 2 billion, but we're not going to do that one. That's too big. 200 million pieces of artwork are needed in the market right now. So is there space for you? It's of course true that not everyone's going to be into your work. That's completely fine. Not everyone likes my work. I have my artwork behind me here, which you can see. Not everyone wants that style and that subject matter and that perspective. Totally fine. I don't need to serve everyone or help everyone with everything. Completely fine. And neither do you. Let's say, for ease of math, that 1 in 1,000 people likes your aesthetic, wants your work, is in your price range. All the things are a yes. Okay, 1 in 1,000. That's pretty good. That's a pretty good ratio. That leaves you with a probable market of 200,000 possible buyers. Is that enough for you? Is 200,000 possible buyers enough for you? It's enough for me. I can make a business out of that. That is logical. That makes sense. There's space in the marketplace. Yes. Here's the truth. MBAs are taught to look at the market. They're taught to look at what can the market sustain, what can it, house, how can we meet the market's needs, and then they do so. Artists are not taught this. We are taught to create expressive, beautiful work, to go inward, to be vulnerable, to be deep, to be thoughtful, which is why our work matters so much, is because we do these kinds of things. And yet, if you begin to think like an MBA or think like a business person, you will realize that there is substantial space in the market for our creative work, especially in today's age where we want so much beauty around us. We're gathering beauty around us so much these days. Pinterest has changed the way homes look. Our desire to make things meaningful and beautiful has increased tenfold. There is so much room for you to grow and to run a profitable business today. So yes, the market is there. And yes, your work is needed in the market. This is why there are so many art factories printing mass-produced artwork, which is fine, but your work is a little bit more impactful and meaningful than that. This is also why the art world sells artwork for multi 6, 7, 8 figures, because they know that there is space in the market for this extraordinarily elevated art. This is also why there's a gallery in nearly every city and town, because there is a market for art. So the market's there. Are you? I hope that helps to give you some space and some lightness inside of you, knowing that, yeah, there's room for my work in this market. It is not overly saturated. It's not non-existent. There is a market for my work, and I should be there. So go into your business knowing that. As a professional artist, we walk this unique blend of creativity and business. And we'll talk more about this in a minute, but there are 2 sides to your business. Whereas most people that graduate with an MBA or that launch a business, they only have one side to their business. And I want you to be very aware of that. That's why this conversation matters so much for us, because we have 2 sides to our businesses. Your creative work comes from deep inside of you, and it's thoughtful and meaningful and impactful, and it's vulnerable, and you have to nourish it and then share it vulnerably. And then the other side is the business side, where you have a product and you have marketing and you have sales goals and you have launches and you have a funnel and you bring people through your funnel, and it's all professional and very nice. But I think it's important to realize that you have 2 sides and that you need to nourish them both intentionally, and they build each other up. Let's dive into how. Artists who make it realize they're running a business, and that as a creative business owner, there's a path that we can follow. And this is why we're here today. We're here to talk about this path. I know that you might be like, Emily, is this magic? Is this actually real? Yes, it is real. Art school is not the place to get an MBA. Can you imagine if you got an MBA in art school? That'd be hilarious. Even more funny though, can you imagine getting an arts education at business school? It would be comical. Like, just the thought, it feels like a Dilbert comic coming to life, and it would just be absurd. So where do we learn how to run a creative business? Well, we learn together. We are forging a path together. This is why I've created spaces like The Collective. This is why I've created spaces for communities of artists to come together and find practical guidance on how to do literally every step of your creative business, as well as community, because when you feel alone, you become stuck. And we don't really want that. So you are in the right place by being here today. You are in the right place by taking your career seriously, taking your creative work seriously. And we're going to walk step by step through this career so that you don't have any unknowns. You're not feeling lost or uncertain at any point from now on, which is why I asked you to grab pen and paper, which is why I asked you to clear some space in your life for just a few minutes, because this process is worth it. It's 100% worth it. It's incredibly hard to grow when you're wandering in the dark. And as artists, we're not given a lot of light or a lot of clarity around how to grow our businesses. There are really no resources for artists who want to run 6, 7, 8-figure businesses. And yet, you absolutely can do that. You absolutely can. You and I are part of a vibrant community of artists who are crafting careers using the humble tools at our fingertips. I'm at my art table right now. I have paints that have been made from actual mud and oil. I have pencil made from graphite. I have paper, just the most humble, simple tools. We take these humble things and turn them into actual magic. And then our businesses take that magic and spread it far and wide. It is incredibly magical. It's truly magical. We're creating beauty out of nothing, making an impact with our work. And though it may feel isolating at times to be alone in your studio, to do your thing quietly, you are not alone. You are part of a beautiful lineage of artists who are making work and progressing on this path together. We don't often talk about this because outside of the collective, in the real world, artists don't really talk about how to run businesses. We're focused on our work. We're focused on the things that our audiences want from us, and that's important. But inside of the collective and inside of this sacred space, we talk about how to make progress. We talk about how to run a business. We talk about how to create a website. We talk about how to photograph your work better. We talk about how to launch things. We talk about branding and email marketing and social media campaigns and licensing and wholesale and all the things that go into a creative business that often don't get discussed freely. And that's because inside of this space, I have very intentionally designed it so that creatives are allowed to thrive. Not only allowed, but in this space, that's the norm. In this space, artists thrive. People come into the collective not really knowing how to run businesses, not really knowing what to do from here or how to grow. They come in and they get clarity and they make actual progress. We have members having successes every single day in the collective, and it's amazing. And that's because in this space, we thrive. And it's just normal. It's just normal. So join the collective. If you haven't sensed that by now, this is the space designed for you to grow. We're going to talk about what that looks like in this workshop, but the actual doing of it often takes some hand-holding and some camaraderie that is best served inside of the collective. So let's look at a few of our members to see what kind of beautiful careers they have forged for themselves. Joyce Chang is an artist who lives in Hong Kong. She creates masterful artwork out of ink and alcohol. She also does calligraphy for very high-end brands and for clients that you definitely know the names of that are incredible. She also leads an artist membership and helps creatives forge their own path. Bryn Casey has grown her fine art practice from being an artist intern to selling out of her own collections, launching her entire business, diversifying her brand, and selling her art around the globe. She creates beautiful work. Tiffany Thomas is an actual magician with clay. I do not know how she does it, but she creates these magical gems out of ceramics. Her collectors are ravenous. They're obsessed with her work. They scoop it up so quickly. Her work is sold internationally through other brands, all while wearing her sweet baby on her back. It's just beautiful. Juliet Meeks is a watercolor artist and licensing expert. Juliet has used all kinds of things to create her beautiful brand and offers a variety of accessories, home decor, and lifestyle products that she has licensed with other brands. So licensing is something that we talk about inside of the collective. Licensing, in case you don't know what that word means, is when you have your creative work. Let's use Juliet as an example. She has her beautiful floral artwork here. Another brand can take the image of that work and turn it into plates or curtains or book covers or really any variety of things. And Juliet has done that beautifully with her brand. Then we have Pooja, who is one of our beautiful members. She creates poetic wooden vases and vessels that create space for us to reflect and appreciate beauty. I actually have one right over here. Ooh, I can reach. You see this? Look at that. Absolutely beautiful work. Beautiful work. So one of the questions I get asked quite a lot is the collective just for painters? No, it is not. Absolutely not. Really, the collective is designed to help anyone that creates beautiful products sell their products more. So whether that's poetry and you create, books of poetry, whether that is, handmade garments, whether that is beautiful wooden vessels and vases, ceramics, photography, paintings, drawings, illustrations, anything. Anything. We have members that do almost anything, which is amazing. And the beautiful thing is, whether you're in the collective or not, I want you to know that you are part of this lineage. You, as a member of the creative community, are part of this community too. And the beautiful thing about all the artists that I mentioned, they all began on this path, the exact same one that you're on, the exact same one that I'm on, with the humble, thrilling idea of, hey, I think I want to create a business. I think I want to make something out of my art. I think that this vision that I have is going to lead to something amazing. So if you're feeling that right now, you know what I want you to do? I want you to take a moment and write down your big, beautiful idea. I know this can be scary. Maybe you haven't even let these ideas take shape or have words associated with them quite yet. If that's the case, just for a moment, I want you to write down the thing that makes you a little bit nervous. The thing that makes you go, oh my gosh, could I actually do that? Yes, you can. Yes, you can. And I believe that if you begin formulating an idea around what that work is and begin moving towards it, that there is literally nothing stopping you from achieving that dream except for yourself. I know that sounds grandiose. It also sounds kind of hard. And it is hard. This is not the easiest career path in the world, but it is the most fulfilling if it's right for you. Successful creative careers do not happen by accident. They are cared for. They are loved. They are invested in. They are magical because we bring the magic. You and I bring the magic for this entire career. Without us, without our passion, we have nothing. We have nothing in this business. It all begins with a vision. All you have to do is look at the tools and the vision happening inside of your heart and know that you have the ability to create the life that you want. One of the most pivotal moments of my life and in my husband's life is when we decided that we were going to design our life. Back then, we had no extra funds, we had no extra space, we had 2 children, we didn't have a lot of freedom. But we decided very intentionally that we were going to chart a new path and do something that may be a little bit risky, but we were going to design our life intentionally. And that was really transformative, really transformative. So this is your moment. You get to decide, how do you want to live your life? What does it want to look, what do you want it to look like? And how can you move forward with that vision in mind? This is where the artist path to success comes in, because it's been created to kind of clear the brambles out of the path for you. There is a path that is clearly laid out. It is nice and windy and beautiful, but it's clear. It's not full of potholes and pitfalls. It is ready for you. But oftentimes, as we begin this journey, we think that there are brambles and briars and holes and pitfalls happening all in front of us, and that we can't move forward. You can. As soon as you know that this is possible for you. So this workshop is going to be the space to kind of clear the brambles, clear the distractions and the mess, and get very focused on how your path can unfold. Now, the beautiful thing is you are going to create unique and individualized artwork. Let's see, right here on my table, I have a planner by Bonnie Christine. And I have a beautiful vase from Pooja from Whirl and Whittle. I have also some beautiful dried flowers that a dear friend gave to me. All three of these elements here, we have one, two, three, they are all deeply different, right? They are very, very different elements. And yet, the creatives that made these things are on the same path. So your work will look different. Your work will look unique. We're not copying each other. We're not creating the same thing over and over again. That's very, very boring. We don't want to do that. And yet, the way that we progress, the way that we grow, the way that we evolve as creative entrepreneurs, that all shifts. And that is the path that we're on together. Let me tell you my story, just so that you can kind of get a sense for how this has looked for me. This is the path that we're going to follow together. Aspirational artists, emerging artists, pioneering artists, aficionado, and creative maven. Remember this slide. This is a very, very important slide. Aspirational, emerging, pioneering, aficionado, and creative maven. My journey began in 2008 when I left art school with a whole stack of paintings and a whole lot of questions. I had no clue how to run a business, none whatsoever. Out of art school, I was advised that I should probably work at a frame shop or I should work at a gallery. I was not told that I could be an artist with my fine art degree. I was like, wait, I went to school to become a painter. Can't I become a painter? No? Okay. In 2010, I did jump in and begin my painting career, but as you'll see here, not with any business sense, I sold my artwork for $10. $10. Actually, less than $10, but we're not going to talk about that. Less than $10. I made no money. This was not a sustainable business model. It did not lead to any profitability. And during this time, we were literally in the poverty line. We did not have extra money. I could not buy more art supplies. And yet I wanted my work to be loved so badly that I undervalued it and sold it as excessively as possible, which led to a business that was not profitable and did not help to further our life at all. In 2011, we moved across the country, had another baby. I kind of had a moment where that's a whole lot to deal with. I did, however, begin my blog, Beautiful Hello Blog, during that time. In 2012, we moved back across the country. I began to set up a spare room bedroom. And this is pivotal. This was the key moment. This is when I began to step onto this journey of going from aspirational artist to emerging artist. Right here is when I said, you know what? I think I can make a sales goal. I think I can set a goal of making $400 a month. If you're not from the US, that's about enough to pay for groceries. Not quite, but almost enough to pay for groceries each month. Suddenly, I began to meet that goal. I began to make that much per month, and then I was able to increase that much per month. Not suddenly. There was some very logical steps that went into it. Setting up a website, beginning to say, I am an artist. Here's what I have available. Here's how you can buy it, marketing a little bit more intentionally. And it began working. And then I began making a little bit more per month and then a little bit more. Everything kind of got turned upside down, though, in 2013 when we very unexpectedly became not in a good place. We became unemployed. My husband lost he didn't lose his job. Yes, he did lose his job. But whatever, it's a whole story. It was a whole story. We suddenly didn't have housing. We had to move yet again because we lived in Charleston, way too expensive. We didn't have community there. We moved to Greenville, South Carolina, where we live now, and moved in with family because we couldn't afford a house. Suddenly, I was asked to become the breadwinner. My husband went to school. We decided to design our lives, to do something different, to be a bit brave and bold. We had absolutely no extra money in the slightest, not at all. And we needed to move into a house. We needed to have a place to live. So I had to make a certain number of dollars quickly within 30 days. I looked at my two hands and I said, okay, the one skill that I have is I'm a painter and I can paint. I paint well. I know this. I can do this. I had 2 young babies. We made it work. So I dove in the deep end. I began making artwork that I thought was good. I began marketing very consistently and very effectively. I began reaching a small, very small collector base, but it was growing steadily. And they were sharing my work. They were talking about my work. There was some energy in that rhythm behind the process of creating my work. I jumped into the deep end and I grew a business quickly. Now, it was out of necessity. If I could go back and make my life a little bit gentler, this phase would not be as hard as it was. This is a very hard phase for my family. A lot of fear, a lot of tears, a lot of unknown, it was hard. It was a very hard phase. But I'm very thankful for that phase because it made me create the life that I live today. I don't know that I would have done so as resolutely had I not had that little kick in the pants. By the end of 2013, I had figured out how to run a business. Again, I jumped in the deep end. I made it work. By the end, I was diversifying my income a little bit by offering prints, and I was ready to grow. That takes us to 2014. In 2014, I began diversifying my income through prints. I began really thinking of this as a legit business. I offer consultations, collection releases, commissions, a lot of commissions. I did so many commissions this year. In 2015 and 16, this was really, really powerful for my business. I began making six figures both years with my art practice, just by creating work, by selling prints, by making this thing run, this thing work. I began licensing my work with brands and scaling all aspects of my business. I hired my first employee, and this is huge, we purchased a house, which, as you know from my story, was a very big deal. Very big deal. Having a sense of home has always meant a lot to me, and we had not had that until 2016. We rented a house, of course. We were not homeless, but also we didn't have that security of this place is ours, and we belong here. And I'm very, very proud of the fact that I was able to make that happen for my family with my art income, with my art business. And I'm very proud of that because I was told the same things you were told of artists can't make money, artists are starving, this is not a real job. And in fact, sitting in the mortgage broker's chair or the mortgage lender's chair, she was like, "You're the first artist I've had in here in a while." And I was like, badge of honor. Thank you very much. So just know that this is something that we all have to work through, this process of growing and evolving and making money with your work. And you absolutely can and will do so as well if you're not already. In 2017, everything began to snowball a little bit. You'll notice that things are progressing pretty quickly from here. And it seems fast because we're glossing over a whole lot of, we're just hitting the bullet points. But 2017, I began to diversify my business further through international retreats, through education, through higher price commissions, larger work, larger bodies of work being sold out in moments. I created a high-level mastermind for artists, and really you can just see everything is just elevating and shifting and growing little bit by little bit. In 2019, this is when everything really became big and beautiful in my business. I continued doing everything that you see before: licensing, creating work, selling out of collections, this kind of thing. In addition to that, though, the work that I had been doing in my mastermind and in the consultations that I was doing were making it very apparent that there was a traumatic need in the creative community for mentorship, for a space where artists can feel empowered to grow a business. Now, I kind of figured this out, not by luck, but also not by luck. And I wanted to share everything that I learned with the creative community because I truly believe that when creatives thrive, we all thrive. You and I are not in competition. I am not your rival. You are not my rival. We literally are helping to reframe the creative community and society at large. People go to big box stores to buy artwork because they don't know how to come meet the artists themselves. They go to, places that may or may not be where they can actually connect with the artist to find creative work for their homes. But we're reshaping that. We're reframing how people access, wait, what's the word? I can't find it. Access, there we go. Access the art world and how they buy things for their homes and for their lives that actually matter deeply. So this is when Making Art Work was born. 2019, we began Making Art Work, which quickly led to The Collective, which is the membership that I lead for creative entrepreneurs and business owners. The Collective was formed because after Making Art Work, the alumni were like, okay, you cannot leave us. Like, we need mentorship, we need community, we need space to continue growing and continue getting training and education. Please run a membership. And I was like, okay, let's do this. How can we make this work? How can we make this a beautiful thing for everyone involved? The Collective was born at that place. In 2019 and in 2020, my business broke 7 figures twice. My studio really grew. Our print business really grew. I began to hire people to work in the print studio. I now have a studio manager and studio assistants, and it really just ballooned into this beautiful and amazing thing, which I'm so thankful for. In 2021, all of that is still happening. All of these things are still rolling and twisting and being elevated and becoming more and more beautiful and iterating in different ways, but all of it is still happening. And by this stage, I now have had the honor of mentoring about 14,000 creative entrepreneurs, and I employ 9 people in my studio, which is absolutely incredibly cool and beautiful. I'm also able to connect with my work on a deeper level and do things that really matter to me as a human and as an entrepreneur. We're able to give generously to causes that matter near and dear to my heart and to my team's heart. And the work that we do, I truly think is meaningful, and I truly think it matters, both in the creative community and in the hearts and minds of my collectors and in society at large. I am honored and humbled to get to do this work and to be here with you. So that's my story, and I cannot wait to hear what your story is. My journey did not happen overnight. It is not magical. It is not even something that happens quickly. I left art school without a clue of how to run a fine art career. In fact, these might be things that you have also thought. The unknowns were countless. I thought things like, what do I spend my time doing? Like, no one's giving me assignments. I don't know how to do this. How do I meet my collectors? Who even buys artwork? Where is this mythical art buyer out in the world? How do I work with brands? What is marketing anyways? Things that, again, we're just not given these foundational things when we leave art school or when we begin our creative businesses. And even if you do know how to run a business, like I said, there's something very intimate and very unique about running a creative business, because the things that come out of you begin inside of you. And that's why the collective works. The collective works because I've walked this path. There are so many other creatives inside of the collective who are also walking this path, and we can walk this path together. And creativity is more beautiful and more profitable when we do it in community. I firmly believe that. I do not think this is a career path that you can or should walk alone. It's not healthy. So let's do something a little bit radical and talk about how to run a creative business. If you have your notebook and paper out, write these 2 things down. Your creative business has 2 sides. It has your artistic journey, and it has your professional profitability, your business profitability. So the side number 1, your creative journey, your artistic pursuits, the things that come out of you that matter, that are beautiful, that happen inside of you, those have to be nourished for your creative business to thrive, right? That makes sense. The other side of that, though, is you have a business that then takes that creative work and makes it big and bold in the world. Your business is the amplifier of your creative work. Without a business, without marketing and an audience and people that can see your work and be with your work, and without profitability, you will not have much of a voice in or out of the studio. So these things work hand in hand to make your work big and bold in the world. Okay, let's talk about how to do this. Now, this is a really quick overview of the artist's path to success. If you downloaded the book, then you have access to this as well. The artist's path to success looks very linear. You remember that path that I showed you earlier where it has that winding, nice, clean line that leads you to the creative maven phase? This all begins right here. So the aspirational artist phase. In this phase, your job is to ground yourself in your creative work. Dedicate your energy and pursuit to art, and make sure that your heart and soul is focused in the actual process of creativity. That's the foundation to everything. I think we know that, but it helps to say it out loud. In the emerging artist phase, you're beginning to dip your toe into what it means to be a creative business owner, not just a creative anymore. And you're beginning to say, hey, I'm an artist and you can buy my work. Profit in this phase is beginning to happen. This is the phase, when I said my sales goal was to make 400 US dollars a month, this is that phase, this emerging artist phase, when you're like, all right, I'm going to make this a business and I'm going to set some sales goals and I'm going to work towards them, and you will get them. You will absolutely do it. And then we step into stage 3, the pioneering artist phase. Establish your passion and begin letting your business be real. You move into profitability and expansion through purposeful marketing and business moves. So you're actually running a business now. You're no longer, it's no longer a side hustle. It's no longer a hobby. It never really was, but you know what I mean. Now you're running an actual business. You have quarterly goals, you have things that you're working towards, you have launches, you have strategy. You know what you're doing, and you're doing it. You're doing it. The aficionado phase is when it gets very exciting. In this stage, your business becomes a little bit more complex. It begins to have more things happening in and around it, and you have to actually be mindfully conscious of all the parts and of yourself and of your creative work, keeping all of them healthy and happy. But profit in this phase is pretty high, probably around 6 figures, maybe a little bit, mid 6 figures. In the creative maven phase, your work is impacting culture. And as such, your work is meeting the culture's needs in some way, which leads to a very high profit, maybe 7 or 8 figures. You have a team, you have vision, you have goals. It's a very exciting phase. We're going to break into all of these phases individually. Let's talk about the aspiring artist phase, the vision for the aspiring artist phase. So like I said, the book goes into great depth on all of these, but I'm just going to give you the quick overview of what each of these phases looks like. And again, go read the book, feel seen and heard. You have a lot of space to grow inside of that context, but we'll give you the quick overview in this. In the aspiring artist phase, your vision is to create your work. Like I said, this is the foundation. Everybody begins here. Nobody moves into the further stages without also spending time here. If you don't feel free in your creative process, you will not have a successful business. So begin to really ground yourself in your creative work. Marketing. You begun to dip your toe into what it means to market your work, but it's not your primary focus. So begin to identify as an artist or as a creative in safe spaces, in friends, family, people that are going to support you. Your creative work needs to be happening in a bit of a rhythm. So sustainability matters quite a lot, because as you begin to create work, make sure that you can maintain the stamina needed to create work professionally. For each phase, I'm going to give you some next steps. That way, as you move out of the phase, you can step cleanly and effortlessly into the next step, which is amazing. So in this stage, in the aspiring artist stage, your next step is to visualize your brand. I know this can feel very strange to think that you have a brand, but you have a brand, which is exciting. So begin to make a mood board, begin to pin images that feel like your vibe, like your aesthetic, like your vision for how you want your work to live in the world. Recognize your aspirations. They are good. They are valid. They are not just pipe dreams that may come true, but probably won't come true. No. You can create an incredible life. You can design whatever life you want, which is amazing. So write them down, verbalize them. At this phase in particular, it's okay to begin expressing your dreams to trusted sources. It is very, very helpful, in fact, to have people in your corner saying, hey, how's it going with that big dream of yours? It'll help to guide your choices and help to point you in the right direction. Document your work. Now, this means take photos of your work. Make sure that you have space for your work to live in private communities, in Facebook groups, publicly on Instagram. Begin to share your work in spaces that matter to you. But more importantly, take photos of your work. That way you have record of your journey. Because I guarantee that in 10 years, 5 years, 20 years, you are going to want to look back on that progress and it's important to have images of this stage. So document your work, share it beautifully, share it boldly. This is the tip of the marketing. Also, you're dipping your toe into what it means to market your work as well, which is amazing. Begin working on your first collection or product line. This is, again, next steps. The next step is to make a website and a shop that elevates your work, putting it on display aesthetically and professionally. Because here's the real truth. In this day and age, you cannot have a business without a website. I mean, you can, but it's not recommended, that's for sure. So as someone that sells their work online and offline, have a website for your creative work. It's incredibly important to give your work that platform and that space to be seen and loved and heard by your people. Know your values and stick to them. A sustainable creative career will follow when you trust in your own vision. This is an important step to do at the beginning and throughout the entirety of your career as an artist, because at this stage, you're settling into your why. You're beginning to step into your process, and I hope that it matters to you and that you have a why for why you do what you do. But this why is the foundation for your path going forward. It might shift, it might mature, it might evolve. That's fine. That's totally fine. But at this phase, knowing why what you do matters is so important, because it's not going to get easier from here. I'm just going to say that right up top. It's not going to get easier. It's going to get more fun. It's going to get more exciting, but it will not get easier. And it's important to know why you do what you do. That way you can settle in and know that why you do matter, what you do matters. Speaking of which, let's tip into the emerging artist phase. So in this phase, you are stepping into your career. You're actually beginning to say, hey, I'm an artist. I am professional. I make money with my creative work, and I've got this. I've got this. The bravest step you'll ever take has already happened. It's already happened. The bravest step that you will ever take in your career as an artist is saying, I am an artist. I am going to move forward with professionalism, with clarity, and with focus, because my creative work matters. If you can say that, if you can write that down on your paper, do so, because this is a hugely brave moment for you and one that you should be very proud of, very, very proud of. Publicly identifying as an artist is often the hardest part. So you've done this. Congratulations. And not to say that it's a shameful thing. I don't want to misspeak or be misunderstood in that way. It's just scary because our creative work is vulnerable, and we're sharing that vulnerability openly and beautifully. And also, not only is it vulnerable, but that vulnerability is coming up against societal norms that are opposing the success of artists. So these two things are coming together, and you, in your bravery and beauty, are able to stand up against that. And that's just amazing. Okay, in the emerging artist phase, we have vision. You are widening your idea about what it means to be an artist. If you're here in the emerging artist phase, this workshop is helping you do that right now. You're widening your view of what an artist can and cannot do, / there's nothing you cannot do, you can do whatever you want. You're beginning to create a brand with recognizable colors, distinct mood. You're beginning to understand that your brand is much more than typography and colors, though. It is a feeling, it's an essence, and that's beautiful. In your creative process, you've defined your aesthetic, and you are creating work that fits that aesthetic. So you have a look, you have a thing that you do, you have a point of view in your creative work, and people look at your work and they know that it's yours. Amazing. Of course, it will progress. The work that I did 5 or 10 years ago looks nothing like what I create now at all. Thank goodness. But that's part of that journey of being an artist, is always progressing and evolving and interpreting things differently and letting things flow. Sustainability. Your work is selling. You're able to set those sales goals and be able to aim for them, which is amazing, which keeps you in the studio day after day and month after month, which is the goal. Marketing. Your presence online and offline is developing. You're creating and sharing engaging content consistently. You have a website that offers your work elegantly and with ease. So back when we had our next steps back here, remember, a website is one of the steps. And now in this phase, your website is working and it's beautiful and you're going. Profit in this phase, so you're making profit and it's happening, and you know that you can definitely grow this profit and that it's sustainable and you can recreate whatever you're doing now that's working. You can do more of it. And the audience is there. The energy is there. You are becoming better and better at bringing your work into this space, and it's scalable, which is amazing. That being said, you're not going to buy a yacht quite yet. You're not buying your mansion quite yet, but you see space to grow. You see space for that to be the future, which is incredible. Look out for a few things. In this phase, look out for pressure to grow too quickly. Oftentimes, we see this path and it looks beautiful, and after we are done with this workshop, you're going to go, okay, I just want to get there. Like, that's incredible. I'm going. But growth is best when you do it slowly. If you have quick growth, you have growing pains. I know because I've done it and it is not fun. Growing pains are really, really painful and oftentimes lead to burnout, lead to fear, lead to all kinds of things that we don't need in our lives. Also, other people's opinions. People are beautiful and wonderful. However, if they're saying things to you that you do not need to hear, realize one of two things. Either their opinion is not for you, and you can say, thank you for your opinion, good for you, not for me. Or, this is more common, or realize that you're the person speaking these words into your life, or maybe you're just feeling them, from their spirit. They are scared. They're just scared. I'm gonna stop screen sharing for a moment. I'm gonna come talk to you. Okay, the people that are saying these things to you are scared, and they're scared because they have also heard the exact same things that you and I have heard. The artists are starving. Artists are suffering. This is not a real career. There's no money in the arts. They have also heard these narratives time and time again, and they also believe them. Well, they see you coming out with your beautiful stack of canvases and all of your supplies, and you're saying, I'm going to be an artist. And they go, oh no, she's going to get hurt. She's going to hurt herself. She needs to stop. Can we make her do something else? I don't want her living in my basement forever. She needs a different career. This one's too risky. There's no money here. She's going to suffer. She's going to starve, all these things. They are just scared for you. So your job is to educate yourself. You've probably done that. You're here today. You're on the right path as far as that goes. They just need the assurance that you know what you're doing, that you know that there is a market here, there is a market for your work, and that you have the ability and the tenacity and the vision to make it happen. That's all they need to know. If they don't support you after knowing all these things and having these reframes and being, told what it can be to be an artist, then you can say, good for you, not for me. And that might be hard. And I know that's hard. And I hope that you don't have to go through that. I hope you can just educate them and keep rolling, and they'll be all excited and they'll champion you along that path. But if they don't, then know that you are on the path that you should be on. And yes, there is space for artists to thrive. And yes, there is space for you to thrive. And yes, your work can and will sell, and it will make money for you. What a relief, right? So just know that, fall into that, and tell them that they're going to be okay. You're going to be okay. Look out for too much peer inspiration. Now, I'm going to say this with love, but during this phase, the emerging artist phase, I see a lot of artists looking at other artists' work and then creating work that looks similar to that artist's work. I'm just going to go ahead and say it. This is not the way to be a professional artist. If you want to be a professional artist, look inward and look outward, but not at other artists' work. The work that other artists do can inspire you in all kinds of ways, emotionally, spiritually, practically, like how do they actually do their techniques, how do they do their thing. But when you go to actually create your work, turn off the inspiration from others and get it only from yourself. I'm saying this with love because I know that it can be, tempting. Maybe we don't know we're doing it, but look around, look at your own work, and identify, are you being inspired by somebody else? And if the answer is yes, know that that will not serve you. It will not help you run a creative business. It will just help you copy someone else, which is no fun in the long run at all. All right, next steps in this stage are to define your brand, work with a designer or DIY this if you'd like to really clean up the packaging that surrounds your business. Not just the packaging, but the package of your brand. So your fonts, your logos, your colors, your image style, all kinds of things around your brand. Refine your website, make sure that it works, that it's empathetic, that it leads your audience through this journey. If you need help on that, the collective has phenomenal trainings on website design and keeping your site really clean and professional and clear and effective so that it sells for you while you're sleeping, which is amazing. So go in there and get that if you need some help in this area. Know your audience. Define the persona of your ideal audience and make sure that you're meeting them where they are because they love your work. And then grow your audience. So once you know who you're talking to, you can begin growing that audience base and growing that presence that your work has in the world. Again, we have trainings on this in the collective about how to actually attract your audience, how to market effectively, how to use Instagram and social media well, all kinds of things like that. So again, practical things waiting for you inside of there. Continue your creative training. Always be honing your skills. Always be honing. That sounds like a catchphrase. But always make sure that you're progressing in your creative ability because your creative ability is that half of your business that matters so much. So like I said, we have our creative work and we have our creative business, and they work in harmony. And if we don't nourish both of them, one of them will suffer, leading both of them to suffer. So keep your creative work thriving and happy. And then continue your training. So this is the other side of that. At this phase, you probably have reached the level that you can kind of DIY or go it alone. You have stepped into uncharted territories that you may need some coaching and you may need some help through, both in your creative work, but also primarily in your creative business. So that's important to keep in mind and to be conscious of. To explore how to diversify your business through teachings or offering new products. Again, we have trainings on how to diversify your business inside of the collective. We have trainings on licensing and wholesale and diversifying your product lists and creating all kinds of products and all kinds of things like that. You are blossoming. At this phase, you imagine you are that beautiful tree. You are growing. You are doing it. You're about to reap fruit. You're in the blossom phase. It is incredibly empowering. This phase is so much fun because at this phase, you know you're on the path. You know that you can keep on going. You have traction. You have stamina. You have some momentum behind you, and you've got this. You've got this. Keep your eyes on the path and keep going. In the pioneering artist phase, you have dipped into one of the most meaningful phases of a creative career. And to be honest with you, a lot of artists decide to stay at this phase. And I'll tell you why in a little bit. But this phase has matured. You have a vision. It's coming true in the world. You are making an impact with your creative work. You're doing it for the process because now you know intimately that this is a very needed phase in your life. Do it for the process says to you as the maker, I do this work because the process fills me. And at this phase, you might be realizing how important this really is. I began this saying in 2014 when I was deeply worn out from creating so many commissions. I realized that my creative business had begun to eat all of my energy and my creative practice was suffering. Do it for the process helped me to recenter on my practice and on the value that the practice adds to me and to my creative business. And it's really, really nourishing when you can kind of get that synergy in place inside of you and inside of your business. Let's get real for a second, though. This career is very, very beautiful, but it can feel overwhelming at times. Let's just be honest. Wherever you are in this path, it can feel overwhelming. When a surge of growth hits and your head spins from the energy of it all, it's exhausting. If you're feeling pulled in 1,000 different directions, it's because you're at a crossroads. If you feel like the things happening inside of you can't be contained inside of you, it's time to make a decision, one way or the other. How are you going to move forward? How are you going to direct your path? How are you going to design your life? And at this phase, you have the ability to really do that. In this phase, you are running a business. It is no longer a nice side hustle. You're probably providing for your family or providing a large portion of your family's income or your personal income. You are able to save. You're able to go on vacations. You're able to do things that you desire to do. You're running a business. You're running a real business, which means you have some some flows, you have your marketing calendar mapped out, you have things in place that give you structure inside of your business. It's amazing. As far as your vision goes, you are able to level everything up. You're able to look at things and say, oh, you can be better, and oh, you can be better, and oh, you can be better. And whenever I think about this leveling up phase, I always think whenever I find things to improve, I'm finding space to play. I still think that today, by the way, and I always have. I think that's one of the most healthy ways to grow, is to think of growth not as, oh, come on, Emily, you could do better. You can do better. But instead think, oh, that can be better. I now get to play. I can play. Inside of the collective, we talk about this all the time, how every time you find spaces to improve or to shift or to move things around inside of your business, you get to innovate, which is what creatives love to do. We love playing, and your business is built on that notion of everything is shifting and everything is always evolving, which means you get to play a lot, which is so fun. Sustainability becomes really, really important, but thankfully you are running a business, which means that you have enough revenue to provide for your needs, which feels really nice by this point, and also some wants. You have a business that is profitable. Your creative work is sustainable both for you and for the needs of your business. Remember, those two parts go hand in hand, and they are both needy, and also you are needy. So having the maturity to care for all sides of you and your creative business, it's very important. And by this phase, you figured that out. You also no longer rely on bursts of random energy or random inspiration. Now you rely on your ability to show up and do good work, which is amazing. Your brand is recognizable and beautiful and clean. Your aesthetic fits your vision. In the marketing of this phase, you figured out how to market and you know how to meet your audience's needs, possibly before they even ask for something. You're marketing your business effectively across social media and email. You have a sustainable marketing calendar planned out for at least the next quarter. Look out for distractions, for loneliness. Loneliness is a very big deal during this phase because at this stage of your creative business, you have probably surpassed a lot of your friends and a lot of your family. And that can feel really strange. It can feel really, really strange to be the only one doing big, beautiful, crazy things like this. And yet they should be done, and you're on the right path for you. Again, you're designing your own path, and it is beautiful and meaningful. So how do you combat loneliness? You find community of people that also say, I'm also on this path. I'm also progressing in this way. I'm also growing a business in this way. Let's do it together. Because as we do these things together, we discover that creatives like us do things like this. Creatives like us normalize the success of artists. We normalize the success and the successes, the daily successes of creative entrepreneurs, which is so empowering. Let's have a talk, though, about money mindset, because this can hold many of us back. It holds us back in places that we don't want to be. So your money mindset is how you feel and think about money. Not only just money in general, but money that's coming into your business. Now, I say this here because by this phase, you're making money. You are running a business. Most artists have to overcome this block, and it's not even our fault. Like I said, you have been given a narrative that has crippled the creative community for far too long. You've been given a narrative that does not serve you or your business in the slightest. That narrative is not true. But because it's so woven in how our society thinks about creative work and how people in the world and at large think about creative work, it's also woven into us, compounding with typical money mindsets that all humans have, of course. So as you come into this part of your business and you make a certain, amount of money and you want to progress further, you might think, yes, I'm great with the success, I'm great with the notoriety, I'm great with the product, I'm great with all these things. The thing that keeps many of people that I've had the honor of mentoring back is they are afraid of making that much money. And they may not actually consciously say this because that might sound, strange to vocalize, but I've had many, many friends that have been vulnerable with me and said, I don't know that I want to make six figures. Can I even do that? Am I allowed? Is that dirty? Is that weird? Is that bad? No, not at all. As you step into a profitable business, you also have to think about this. I'm going to speak right to you for a moment. you also need to think about this. As your work grows, as your business grows and becomes more and more profitable, you are reaching more and more lives. You are growing your business. Your business is full of good. Do you create bad things? Do you create things that are evil? Do you create things that are maniacal and manipulative and not kind and not good to other people? No. No, of course you don't. That's absurd. You create beauty. You create connection, you create meaning, you create things that give people light, not darkness, that give them joy and not sorrow. Or if you do get them sorrow, it's intentional. You're helping people tap into things that are deep inside of them. So, your creative work is good. Your artwork is good. The things that you make with these beautiful hands are intimate and vulnerable and good. So, as your work gets to reach more people and gets to have a bigger voice in the world and gets to have more of an impact, more money will also come to you. Because as you share that beautiful work with your audience and with your collectors and your buyers, the only thing that they can give you as a thanks is some papers that we call money. And they're like, thank you, please take these papers. And we take them and it's fine. But what we're giving them is so much more impactful and so much more meaningful on a much deeper and more precious level than what they give us in return. So let's reframe how we think about money, how we think about making money as a creative, how we think about growing a business, because as your business grows, you're able to make more impact. You're able to spread your work further, to do more with your work, and do more with your money, right? Like as your business grows in profitability, you also have more at your disposal as well, which means you can choose how to use that power wisely and kindly and for good, which is amazing. So I love reframing this mindset quite a bit because I know that it's so common and it holds so many of us back. But as you grow, you make a more meaningful impact on others and you can use your resources to do even more good. Okay, let's look out for excuses. They're prevalent. We all have them, but keep your eyes open for them because they will hold you back at this phase in particular. Limiting mindsets around money, around success, around fame, around reach, around you name it. We have mindset issues around pretty much everything that goes into our growth. Be aware of that and move through it. Next steps. As you tip into the aficionado phase, the fourth phase on our path, the next steps are to plan for sustainability. You have to diversify your product line, add more streams of revenue to your business. So if you are a painter, begin adding prints, begin adding other printed goods, begin adding workshops, begin adding all kinds of things that you can add to your business. And this is where designing your business becomes really fun because no longer are you just doing one thing. You are now able to craft a beautiful, complex studio business, and it can include all kinds of things, which is amazing. Don't forget your email. So this is your email list, not just your inbox. Thank goodness. Don't forget your email. You need to nurture your email and grow this space intentionally. We talk about that quite a lot in the collective. There are 4 trainings from the summer of 2020 on email list growth in particular that are really helpful, really practical, lead generation, all kinds of things like that. Refine your brand. Again, this is such a beautiful step to take as a creative entrepreneur because you're able to refine everything. You're able to play. Strengthen your boundaries. Yep, 100%. This is the next step. Strengthen your boundaries. If you know that something is not for you, say no. If you're not sure if something is right for you, say no. If you know that something is right for you, say yes. Got that? Most of the time it's a yes, most of the time it's a no. Every now and then it's a yes at this phase. Earlier in your career, you can say a lot of yeses because you're dipping your toe and you're really learning about all kinds of things and you're really, you're just experimenting and trying things out and learning quite a lot, which takes a lot of data. So say yes, but during this phase and onward, you begin to say no quite a lot. And that's because you know what matters to you. You know what matters to your business. Stay consistent, track your time. We'll go on to the next steps. In case no one has told you lately, no matter where you are in the success path, you can achieve great things, even as an artist. I know, it's crazy. I know. Who told you? Like no one says this. And yet, even as an artist, you can achieve great things, you can be very profitable, and you can grow an incredible creative business. It can feel especially isolating to walk through this part of your creative journey without camaraderie. So, when I say the words the collective, I want you to think those are my people because this is your space to find a group of artists that normalize the success of artists, that normalize how vibrant and profitable this career path can be. These are not things that we often hear out in the big world or out in society in general. We don't even hear these things from the creative community because oftentimes we're not talking about how profitable we are or how much money we're making. We're talking about our work and about how beautiful it is, of course. And yet, there are so many creatives that are thriving and that are growing and nourishing one another. That happens every single day inside of the collective. And I would love to see you in there. All right, let's tip into the stage number 4, the aficionado phase. During this phase, you are an expert and people know it. You are speaking and they are listening, and it's so exciting. Your work is established and beautiful, and now you get paid to do what you do best. Your vision includes having a business that is multifaceted. So your business includes at least 5 streams of income, which is plenty and beautiful. And you're able to create them all beautifully and in line with your vision. Sustainability. You've grown a business that can sustain you financially, emotionally, and physically. These are very important to be aware of all the sides of you because your business will consume all of you if you let it. And it's important to keep it in check because it can be a little bit of a hungry animal, and we don't need that. You have healthy boundaries, and as much as possible, you are working within your zone of genius. I want you to write these words down. Write down the words zone of genius and begin to think about them. Your zone of genius is when you do work that only you can and should do. Now, if you are in phase 1 or 2 or 3, you may not be able to outsource a lot of these things quite yet, although I think you can probably outsource some things, maybe like grocery shopping or whatever fits your life. But as you enter this phase, begin intentionally thinking, what should I be doing and how can I just do that? It's very exciting. Marketing. You have a 12-month marketing calendar mapped out. And all that means is you have space on your calendar. I'm going to hold this up for a moment. Let me do this. You have space on your calendar. So this is your calendar right here, where you know what's happening sporadically. You have your January launch, you have a summer collection launch, you have your holiday sales, you have something happening in September, you have something happening in March. You know what's happening on your calendar roughly. It may be in pencil, it may evolve. That's fine. It's there, and you can plan for your energy bursts and expenditures from there. We talk about this quite a lot in the collective, typically in August, because August is the sacred time after the summer crazy and before the holiday craziness, which I know it seems like September should be that time as well, but September is usually pretty busy. August is our time to recenter on the process, to come back to why we do what we do, and to nourish ourselves. If you need some nourishing in this area, go watch content from August, from 2020, 2019. It will be deeply impactful to your creative career going forward. Your brand is well established, and your ideal customer base knows your work. Your creative process is making meaningful work. So in this phase of your career, you're doing work that can and should define your career, which is so exciting. In profitability for this phase, you're making ample income. You're making 6 figures, most likely if you're in the US and within our pricing structures. You're making enough money to fund your life, to fund some desires, to be able to be generous to others, possibly to hire people, and you're able to expand your business. You're able to invest back into your business, back into your life. It is beautiful. Look out for fear of growth. This sneaks in at every stage because stepping into that next stage is very scary. But as you leave your comfort zone, leave that cozy space that you're very happy being in, you know you need to grow. Oftentimes, growth happens because something happens inside of us and we can't stay the same anymore. So fear of growth comes in to keep us small and protected. Look out for that. It's not needed. Imposter syndrome. You're standing on some pretty big stages at this point. Maybe not actual stages, but maybe. You have an audience, you have a voice, you have a space where people get to know and trust you. And that can also be nerve-wracking and a little bit vulnerable. Perfectionism. Oh, perfectionism. I think we all have this one. Most of us are creatives because we can see a brighter, more beautiful way, which leads to perfectionism, and that's not helpful, is it? If your work is good, then it's good enough. So let that be liberating to you. Do it all yourself mindset. We often think we can do everything, and at this phase, you kind of can, but your zone of genius would mandate that you do not do it all yourself. Look out for, thinking that you have to do everything. Next steps. Think about new ways of growing your business. At this phase, you've been doing this for a couple of years now. You found your rhythms, and now it's time to play. It's time to innovate. How can you add something new, something that excites you and makes you a little bit nervous? Make an impact, diversify your brand, find ways to get publicity, magazines, newspapers, international publications, TV, blogs. Find ways of getting your work out into the world on a bigger and broader scale. Go big. Again, like I said, think new. Begin to visualize ways that you can step into your next level business. At this phase, you have a lot of space to play because you have enough income that you can invest into things. You can begin to play with different things. You also have the audience that's supporting you, which means you can take some risks. So do it. Do it. Expand your income goals. You're making a living, and now it's time to thrive. Those money mindsets that hold us back, it's time for you to identify those and to acknowledge them and say, thank you for trying to keep me safe. I'm going to be good. I'm going to be fine. And then keep moving. Aspire to inspire. Your work has the ability to change lives at every stage, by the way, at every single stage, but especially in the aficionado stage where your work is becoming really meaningful and beautiful, and it's time for you to let it really, really sing. In this phase, you need mentorship. You cannot walk from here alone. I know that sounds dramatic and a little bit doomsday-y, but I literally know this to be true intimately from watching people do this alongside me. What happens at this stage is you walk out onto this ledge, and it is part of the path, but it feels very scary and very nerve-wracking. You walk out there and you feel alone. You feel scared. Nobody is walking alongside you. There's strong winds, there's trauma, there are customers, there are things coming at you from all sides. You need camaraderie more than ever, more than ever. And what I've seen is those that do not have camaraderie, I literally can watch them retreat. They go back and they shrink their businesses to make that easier because it's scary. Let's just be real. It is not comfortable to walk at this altitude, at this magnitude alone. But if you have friends in your corner, if you have champions who are saying, no, you're going to be okay. Here's how I would do this. Here's how I would think about this. Here's what I would do in your shoes. If you can find that community of champions, you're going to be fine. And not only are you going to be fine, you're going to thrive. All you need is that little bit of comfort in that moment. All you need is that little bit of assurance that you are on a path. I know it looks scary, but hey, you've got this. You're doing great. Keep going. I'm right here with you. The collective is the perfect place for that to happen. Inside of that space, not only am I there saying those things, but also you are not the only one out on that ledge. You are not alone. We have so many people that are doing brave, beautiful, glorious things boldly, and having a space where you can say, I'm gonna do this, and it might be risky and it might be a lot, but I can do it. And you'll have people that say, yes, you can. I've got you. Here's how, we'll do this together. That brings us to the creative maven phase. In this phase, we are looking towards aspirational people. So let's talk about who they are. Some people that come to mind for me when I think of the creative maven phase. Morgan Harper Nichols. She is absolutely incredible. She's one of the guest experts inside of the collective. She is generous. She is thoughtful. She is kind. She is running a very complex and beautiful business. Lisa Congdon, another guest expert inside of the collective. She spoke with us in January of 2020, and she is, again, running a complex beautiful business. She's written many books. I have two of them right here, Art Inc. and Finding Your Artistic Voice are two books that she's written. Very, very, very meaningful work that has really helped shape the creative community. And again, she spoke with us in January of 2020. Heather Day is another artist that comes to mind. She has diversified her brand while still becoming, like, maintaining her fine artistness. She works with, really high-end galleries, sells her work to high-end collectors, and also partners with, businesses and brands and corporations to help them achieve great things. I also think of Rebecca Atwood. Rebecca wrote a couple of books that are absolutely beautiful. Rebecca wrote Living with Color and Living with Pattern. She's an artist who has turned her art into a licensing empire and now has a diverse brand that is just absolutely beautiful. I also think of Hilton Carter. Hilton's not really an artist, but he's absolutely a creative. He wrote this beautiful book called Wild Interiors. He lives in the plant land, and his work is beautiful and really, really impactful as well. So go look all those people up if you need some inspiration about how this career can look. Look to those that are doing it. We're all on the same journey. They are on our path. We are on this path together. If you are in the first stages of this path, you're walking in the footsteps of those that have gone before you, which means you can do it too, which means that you absolutely have this laid out for you. In this phase, flashy offers and shiny opinions are not helpful. Shiny options are not helpful. Things that look like, oh, that's a great idea. No. Be very clear about what you need to do in your business and avoid everything that does not align with your highest work and your zone of genius. Burnout is also very common in this phase because there's so many things to do and so many people that need us, and it can be a little bit overwhelming. I can do it all attitude. During this phase of your career, you must have help. If you don't have a team, you are probably you're probably not a creative maven. If you don't have a team or people that help you in the studio and in your business, reevaluate how you do things because you should not be doing it all. You only have one zone of genius, and you should live in that zone of genius. Other people's opinions. So again, this sneaks in because at this phase, you might be getting advice from people that mean well and are very wise and probably have great advice. You have to decide if it's for you. And that would even go to me. Like if you are in the collective and I say something and you're like, yes, I hear that. Good for you, but it's not for me. I'm going to honor that. I'm going to fully honor that and say, you know what? Good for you. Good for you for knowing what's right for you and for being okay with that, that decision. Next steps. Yes, even in this phase, we have next steps. Make work that changes culture. I always think of Beyonce. She does incredibly beautiful visual albums. Black is King came out in the summer of 2020, and I watched it so many times because something about the way that she elevated her work, which is her music, obviously, she elevated her work so powerfully and brought me and everyone else that watched it on this entire visual story around her highest work, which is her music. Get innovative in your marketing. Surround yourself with people who inspire and challenge you. Step into your role as CEO and expand your income goals yet again. For everyone on this path, whether you are at phase 1, the aspiring artist phase, or you are anywhere in between, you have reached excellence. I want to just make this very, very clear because I think we often think you only succeed if you make it to the end, whatever the end means, which is ambiguous. You only succeed if you make it to the end. That's not actually true. That's not actually true in the slightest. Do it for the process would say otherwise. Success comes when you are growing. Are you growing? Are you thriving? Are you progressing towards this big and beautiful vision that's inside of your heart? If so, then you are succeeding every single second of the day. Your business is excellent. It is beautiful. It is needed. It's time to expand. It's always time to grow more and find a bigger vision and surround yourself with people who also inspire and will support you. but you are growing and thriving at every single stage of this journey, which is powerful. Each stage is beautiful and meaningful. You can customize your business, you can customize your creative work, you can find ways of making this business truly your own. Your business will not look like my business, or like Bryn Casey, or like Morgan Harper Nichols, or like Hilton Carter, or like Tiffany Thomas. Your business will look like yours because your creative work is unique, your vision is unique, and the way that you progress down this path will have a unique voice and a unique perspective. If you're saying to yourself, okay, yes, I see the vision, I want to grow my business, I know this is possible, you've proven all this to me, yes, yes, yes. How do I do it? I need more. Number one, I need you to figure some things out. Number one, do you want this? I'm just going to be honest with you and say there are easier ways to make a living. However, if it's right for you, if you know that this is the career that you want to pursue and you love your creative work, you love what you do, you love what you create, then press onwards. The next thing I'd like you to do is download the Artist Path to Success and study it. Do not just, download it and then flip. Nope. I want you to actually be with this book. It will help you grow your business. It will help you change your life. The third is to join the collective. If you need some practical guidance on how to move through your creative career, the collective is designed to help you grow in your business. It's sustainable. The way that it works is we have content that comes out every Tuesday. The content is designed to help you grow. So we flow with the seasons. We talk about things that, impact us at different times of the year, like Christmas or the holiday season or spring. They have very different energies, very different flows. Along with that, though, we get very, very practical. I'll show you inside the collective in just a moment. We get very, very practical as far as how it feels to be a creative entrepreneur and how you can logically move forward in your business. How can you logically, up your email game, attract more people to your email list, grow your Instagram following, run a successful wholesale line, launch a collection, have a holiday season that makes 7 figures or 6 figures, maybe 7, who knows? How you can just really do every aspect of running a creative business. The how is answered every single day inside of our private community, inside of the collective content itself. We really do walk side by side. Like I said, in this space, we normalize the success of artists. In this space, it is not strange to make money. In this space, it is not strange to be a profitable artist. In this stage, it is not strange to sell your work because you're a business owner. You're a creative entrepreneur. Of course, you're going to do those things. But outside of this space, those things are strange and they're not talked about and they're a little bit hush-hush and they're a little bit, there's some fear wrapped around them. Not needed, but it's there. So it's easier and much more productive and much more profitable when we walk this path together. So I'm going to just go ahead and open up the collective for you and show you inside. You ready? Here we have the inside of the collective. So as I said, content is released once a week and it lives in this space. So let's just go ahead and look around a little bit. Wholesale for creatives, recurring revenues, so memberships, subscription boxes, things like that. Website design for higher sales, goals and growth, holiday success, holiday prep, holiday marketing tips, pricing and value, licensing for artists and creatives, creating a sustainable art practice. So a lot of content is covered in this space that, again, is really practical and is designed to help you thrive as a creative entrepreneur. Email marketing for creatives. Again, email marketing for creatives number 1 and 2. Summer collections, studio photography, all kinds of things. Let's go ahead and just open up one of these. Let's just go ahead and open up this one. Okay, so as you can see, each session has 4 components. This one has part 1 and part 2, but 4 components: a training, a guest expert, a behind the scenes, which is where I share the inside of my business in some way. I get very vulnerable and very honest with this community, and then a Q&A. So inside of the training, let's open up the training. They're usually about, 20 to 50 minutes long, somewhere in there. And they are highly practical, very, very actionable. You can see that they're not silly. They're not light. They're actually going to help you succeed in your creative business. I also help you walk through each phase of the artist success path. So if you are an emerging artist or a pioneering artist, you can walk these things and, grow and make this part of your business now for wherever you are on the artist success path, which is really helpful. The guest expert interviews, let me go ahead and open up a guest expert interview. The guest expert interviews are so beautiful because we get to sit down and talk with an actual creative maven or just an incredibly inspiring human. Morgan Harper Nichols is inside of session number 11 and helps us understand how to run a business, how to make your marketing work. She's incredible at this. And then behind the scenes, I take you inside of some aspect of my business, whether it's inside of my wholesale catalog, inside of my pitch to Anthropologie for my licensing deal, inside of my lead generation, which we'll go through here, my lead generation calendar in this one. So again, it's a very practical and pretty vulnerable look inside of a creative business. I bring you inside, sharing, revealing things that I would definitely not share elsewhere. I really think about the collective as my space to be vulnerable because I trust you in this space. It's my space to say, hey, come on in. I'm going to pull back the curtain and share what's up. I went through burnout in the summer of 2020, and I shared about that in this space. I shared about growth. I shared about our launch inside of my biggest course launches. Inside of the space, I trust the members of the collective. I'll trust you, and I'll share these things openly and vulnerable with you because I think that's important for all of our growth. I think it's important for my growth to, do these things openly and transparently. And I also think it's important for the creative community to grow by knowing what's possible, to grow by knowing what's to come or how it feels or what it's like or what I'm doing and what I'm experimenting with. Not everything works, and I share that too. I also want to take you inside of the collective Facebook group. So this is a very intimate space, and it's very, very precious to me. I'm very, we love each other. We're in this for the long haul. This is a career that we have chosen to do alongside one another. I'm going to take you inside of here just so you can kind of get a sense for how this space feels. Okay, so we have questions that come up every single day. We have, comments and beautiful things from our members. People ask for insight. This is not a space to sell to one another. It's not, it's not the vibe of the collective. However, it is a space to ask for feedback and to ask for perspective and insight. We will help you with all of your launches. We'll help you to, pinpoint where the links are broken or which images need to be updated. We'll help you figure out how to market more effectively. This is a great space to come for that insight and for that knowledge about how to run a business well. It's amazing. It's amazing. We can also ask very intimate questions that we can't really ask outside of this space, things that people just don't really know. Questions about printers, questions about materials, questions about scanners, questions about, how to keep your images stored properly, all kinds of things that you may not have a friend group to ask these kinds of, more technical, artsy, or businessy questions too. So it's a great space for that as well. If you're wondering how to join the collective, well, there is a link right below here that you may use to join the collective. If you're wondering how do you get out of the collective, let's just be open and honest with one another. Let's just go right there. If you're wondering how to join the collective and how it actually feels to be a part of it, the collective is a membership. So you join, you get access to all the content while you are a member. So while you're in the collective, everything is yours. Everything. Past content, current content, it's all yours. If you decide to leave, no problem. You can just leave anytime. There's no, you're not locked in. We'll all cry, of course, because we're going to miss you. But there's no, long-term commitment or anything like that in the slightest. It's very flexible. I designed it to help you grow. I did not design it to keep you trapped, right? Like that's not the point at all. You are in this space because you're ready for intentional growth. And I am firmly believing that the collective will help you grow intentionally. Let's see if I can find a quote from one of our members that really means quite a lot to me. This is the collective sales page. The collective has been monumental in my growth as an artist and creative entrepreneur. I even got connected with my first gallery where I sold my work and very successfully and gained knowledge, experience, and confidence as an artist. When I first joined the collective a year ago, I was very much in the hobbyist phase. I had no clue how to ship my work, how to market, or how to sell. I watched the behind the scenes on shipping and gained information that I needed to start selling right away. It was incredibly helpful for Emily to share the vendors she works with and where she bought her supplies from. Since April of last year, I have sold 307 pieces and recently just broke 10,000 of earnings from my art alone. That is incredibly powerful, Patty. I love that. Every artist needs a safe space. This is your space. That's why I created this space. I created this space because outside of this world, it can be very hard to find this kind of success and these narratives around success. But inside of this space, you have that ability to grow, and you have that space in which to grow effectively and beautifully. Let's see. Melissa says, I joined the collective in 2020, and it was a perfect opportunity for me to continue my creative entrepreneurial training with a supportive community of people at all stages in business. The trainings and behind the scenes keep the movement in my business fresh, and the Q&As often answer questions I didn't even know I had. That's the fourth component, is a live Q&A where you get to ask your questions and I will answer them. Also, to Melissa's point, oftentimes those Q&As bring up conversations that we need to have as a community, or they offer space for me to mentor you one-on-one in a group setting where people can learn and grow. And of course, I always honor and respect everyone involved, and I'm such a gentle coach. But these spaces are so great because we get to grow alongside one another, which is amazing. The collective has helped me to grow my business and elevate my work more than I ever thought possible. I cannot wait for you to do this kind of growth. This space, I know I keep talking about it because it's very special. It's very special. If you have been a creative entrepreneur for very long, then you know how rare this kind of space is. You know how rare it can be to find creatives that are open and transparent, and that come with the good and the bad and the hard and the easy and the celebrations and the concerns. We are here for all of it. And that's why we grow, is because we acknowledge all of it. Growth is not always, mountaintop to mountaintop. Oftentimes you have to struggle through things and work through things, and this is a safe place in which to do that as well. So I cannot wait to see you inside. Doors are currently open. Join us right away. Cannot wait to get to know you. I cannot wait to get to know your creative work, to get to know how I can help you and where you are on this path and how you can progress further into your journey. All right, join the collective and I'll see you in there. All right, bye for now.